Hello and welcome to Driving Double Feature Podcast. I'm Nathan.
I'm Ryan.
And this is the podcast where we talk about 2 movies a week every Tuesday and Thursday. And stop right there. Before you go to the NASA Space Center, your local NASA Space Center, be sure that you are subscribed to Driving Double Feature Podcast. Just for $5 a month, you get some fun games, fun conversations, and all of that supports us. But no main show content is locked behind the Patreon. Now go ahead, you can get going. You can get going to the Space Center because I know everybody goes to their local NASA Space Center every week. But anyway, getting into today's movie, we are talking about Judgment Night from 1993, directed by I almost said Stephen Hawkins. I'm going to leave that in. Stephen Hopkins, which I'm pretty sure we've covered him before. Oh, no, we have not. But he directed Predator 2, Nightmare on Elm Street 5, and the great Lost in Space with Gary Oldman and William Hurt. So,
Wow.
we got a quality director in here. Judgment Night, I will say, is a long time recommendation from my dad. He has been asking for this movie for a while because he really likes this movie. So I thought, let's just do it. It's time to cover Judgment Night. Do you know anything about Judgment Night, Ryan?
I had never heard of it until until you recommended it.
Nice. Well, I can't believe that because I know you're a huge Emilio Estevez fan who stars in this movie, uh,
He
alongside
does.
another favorite of yours, Cuba Gooding Jr. Oh my God!
Yeah.
And
And
another one that's Jeremy
I
Piven.
I I yeah, oh, and your favorite, Steven Dorff.
I know Stephen Dorff. This is young
Yes.
Stephen Dorff before he really rocketed into an amazing career.
hmm
Oscar. I think he got nominated at some point. I think he might have even won at some point. I'm just kidding.
I'm
Uh,
I didn't know what where you're heading
the
towards.
look on your face. um, yeah, and then Jeremy Piven of The Goods, Live Hard, Sell Hard. Yes, yeah.
That's it's funny you mentioned that one in particular. Did I think I told you that story, didn't I?
It. I think so, but go ahead and say it because
Well, yeah. So that's like that. The Goods is like height of Jeremy Piven's fame because he was getting a lot of acclaim for his role on Entourage and
yeah.
everything. He had just won like an Emmy and all that for it, and so
Hmm.
they gave him that movie, The Goods. And I remember watching The Goods. I went to go see it, and it was like 25 minutes into the movie, something like that, like in
Hmm.
theaters, and just remember not laughing one time, and I was with a friend,
Oh my
and we were just
God.
like book looked at each other. I'm like, is this funny to you? And he's just like, no. And I just was like, you want to leave? He's like, yeah. So we just
Oh my God.
we
That's
walked out
bad.
and got our money back because we were just like, it's like, I think we would have a lot more fun if we just go buy like some beer and we just go and hang out and talk. I'd rather do that than watch this movie.
To watch The Goods, that's not a good sign. And I mean, that's a movie that's like time is forgotten. I'm pretty sure no one remembers that
I
movie.
I since then when I worked at Blockbuster, I went and rented it and actually like watched it,
Hmm.
and it's not good. It didn't get better.
Yeah, he's like a car salesman in that movie, right? Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's like the whole thing. It's just like, oh, this car lot's going out of business unless we sell every single car on the lot type of thing.
Gotcha.
And
Gotcha.
it's like David Koechner, Ken Jeong,
Oh,
Ed
comedy
Helms.
genius. Comedy genius. That's
Yeah.
all I'm hearing. Uh,
hmm
but yeah, this is
But
Jeremy
anyway,
Piven long before that. But he's still playing that douchebag character that he like plays so well. Um, so Judgment Night is like a movie that quickly gets into its plot because it is a one night movie, just by the title of it. It is a movie that takes place, I wouldn't say in real time, but almost in real time. You follow a group of men that meet up to go, and they're going to a boxing match. And Jeremy Piven rolls up in an RV, with which he got just to drive for the weekend by saying that, oh yeah, my office would really appreciate some RVs and we might buy them. And they give him like the keys to test it for the weekend, which no wonder my dad likes this because this is actually something my father would do. I don't know if I'm going to ask him if it's okay, but I'm going to say it here. I'll delete it later. But back in the 90s, you could get tester cars. They would let you test them out for the weekend, and my mom and my dad, they would test cars and then take long road trips in these cars for the weekend, and then bring them back to the dealership. They're free
They
cars.
didn't say any. Did not say anything about like all the extra mileage that's on there?
I don't know. I don't know what, if they didn't say anything or if it was a tester car. It didn't matter. But yeah, I guess my dad knew because my dad was a car dealership salesman for a long time.
And that was free too. The only never they
It was
did
free.
that.
It was free. Yeah, it was to test the car out. It was a very different
What?
time. Very different
I
time.
see.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, so these boys, they're getting out there, and Emilio Estevez's wife is like, "Hey, I don't like that your friends are unmarried. You're gonna run around on me." And of course, Emilio is like, "No, I never do that." And he doesn't. But Emilio,
Well,
go ahead.
I do want to point out that like immediately because I was kind of like turned off to the wife character because she was just like she's like, well, I thought, since you grew up that, maybe you'd actually get some grown up friends. Like, like
Yeah.
basically like she doesn't approve. And, I'm immediately right away, I'm just like, oh, like, they have like a nagging wife character that doesn't approve of friends or whatever. But
Mhm.
uh spoilers, by the end of the movie, I was like agreeing with her. I was like, these guys suck
I
like
know.
as friends.
No, yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, because they set her up to be like a nagging, like you said, a nagging wife. That's like, you think the movie's gonna go like he realizes maybe his friends are actually a little more worth it, but no, each and every one of these friends, maybe not his brother, his younger brother ends up being a part of the gang as well. He's like forced to inviting him. But Cuba and Jeremy Piven are pretty awful. Jeremy Piven especially, but as we learn, Cuba Gooding Jr., his character, he's just like
I
I
don't
just
know
don't.
what happened with him.
Yeah, he just goes crazy at some point in the movie, and I just don't like his like whole thing because I guess Emilio Estevez used to be like a fighter, like he would fight, he had a lot of courage, and he's calmed down a lot, and he's not very like he doesn't pick fights, and the whole time Cuba's like, uh. You're not a man anymore. Pretty much
Yeah,
saying that, like
you're a
you're a
pussy.
pussy. Yeah,
Yeah.
you don't pick fights anymore, and it's just like it started to just bother me because Emilio Estevez was fine. It's not like he's like playing some coward character or anything. He's stuck. They get in a fight on the freeway with a guy because they wouldn't let the RV over, and all Emilio does, he's just like, okay, let's just calm down and we'll move away from this. Just let him go. That was the right way to handle that, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, and then like didn't you think too, like they had like that whole big scene with that driver and
Hmm.
like, Kuba, like he gets into a fight with, Steven Dorff, but Kuba comes in and kind of like disengages the argument by almost breaking the guy's arm and just
Hmm.
basically like, oh, yeah, you're about to leave, weren't you? Like, just take the pretty lady home and, have a good night type of thing. And
Yeah.
but I thought for sure like that guy was going to come back into the plot. Like, he was going to be like driving around or whatever, and they asked for his help, and he's just like, hey, screw you, or whatever.
Yeah. No, and that like that is this night in a nutshell. Is like nothing ever works out for any of them. That's kind of, it's one of these movies, they crash their RV, and well, what happens is Jeremy Piven basically almost hits somebody who's in the street.
Wait,
Oh, go ahead.
one other thing
Oh,
I do
okay,
want to
yeah.
mention too, because you mentioned the boxing fight.
Yes.
You notice like they're watching the boxing fight like while they're driving
Yes.
there, and not only like they have two TVs, like Jeremy Piven, who's driving the RV, has a TV in the center console,
Yep.
which is already weird, but how they're able to get like I'm assuming pay-per-view, like a pay-per-view
True.
boxing match into their broadcasting into their RV. And then like wouldn't you figure like at a certain point you'd just be like, we're late for the boxing, let's just turn around and go home because they're stuck in a traffic
Yeah.
jam.
Yeah, and I think they even say that, like, we're gonna miss the boxing match. Or I think they see the beginning and they're like, we're gonna miss the rest of it. And yeah, at some point they should have left so much earlier. I don't understand why they left so late for a boxing match. If they left so late that they're watching the boxing match in the RV. Like, you're right. At that point, it's just like, whatever. Let's just hang out in here and watch it. They have an NES with a zapper in there. Play
I
that.
know that. I saw that too. I was like, oh, look, an NES.
Yeah, they might have Punch Out. That might be a bit more fun than the actual boxing match.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, no. So yeah, what they do is they're stuck in this traffic jam, and then they go out into this bad part of Chicago. They see a guy running away, and they accidentally crash the RV. And the guy running away gets from he's running away from a couple of like gangsters, and they shoot him dead right in front of everybody. So now they're all witnesses, and it's kind of weird. They hide the main bad guy. His name is Fallon, who they
Jimmy,
hide.
as I call him.
Yeah, is yeah, Jimmy Fallon. Wouldn't that be funny? That would rock. Actually, I'd love if his name was Jimmy Fallon.
I thought that I was like that would be so funny, like just like to unironically cast Jimmy Fallon into like a gangster role, like a cold-blooded
Uh-huh.
killer role,
Yeah, like
just to
yeah.
see.
And isn't this like this is definitely pre-fame Jimmy Fallon too? Just like he's like finding his footing. Like he's like, yeah, I wanted to do serious roles. But no, instead they do this weird thing where they hide his face in shadow for a while, and then it's almost like a big reveal because the gunshot goes off and the light of the gun shows off, and it's like, oh, it's Dennis Leary. Oh my God. If you didn't notice from his damn voice, he has such a like recognizable voice.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, his name is in the credits, obviously, so I'm already
Yes.
looking for him. But
Yeah.
yeah, as soon as like I hear the voice, I'm like, oh, that's Dennis Leary.
Yeah, you just know. Playing a bad guy, which I always feel like, yeah, he does a good job playing a bad guy. And he's very ruthless, and he's all right, we're gonna go after these guys. Which he has two henchmen, which one of them is Peter Green, who recently passed away. So rest
Hmm.
in peace to him. And then who is the other guy? I feel like the other guy was
Was it? Was there somebody else that was notable?
he looked notable, but I'm looking at the cast list and he's not here, so maybe not. Um, yeah, maybe not. But anyway, so yeah, so now they're getting chased through the city. And for one thing I liked about this movie, I liked the music. I thought the music was pretty good. Music is uh, done by Alan Silvestri, who you might know from the Back to the Future series. He's the guy who does the Back to the Future music. But it's funny, I did read the IMDb trivia, and this music, and he also did the music for Predator 2. And I guess there's one scene in this movie that is literally, he just rips off his own song from Predator 2. It's like just the same thing again. Um, but he had to
There
do
was
it.
there was well, when you mentioned the music, there was like one scene where like the somebody was playing like these bongos or whatever. They were going
Yeah.
like super hardcore, like
Yeah, he's in Predator 2 jungle music like mode and just thinking of those bongos. I think he had to do it quickly though, because I actually read that he had a synthesizer score made for this movie, and they actually they said no to that, and they wanted an orchestral score. So I think they had to do it pretty quickly. Um, so this movie becomes a cat and mouse chase, which is really funny because they get away for a very long time from these gang members with guns. And it becomes almost, to me, as the movie got further and further along, I felt like maybe it got sillier and sillier, the concept of these guys hiding from them. Because at some point, I mean, Jeremy Piven does die at some point, but at some point, these guys who are like trained killers should be able to just catch up to these nobodies running through Chicago.
oh
Who
yeah.
knows, who the hell knows where Chicago, right? So it gets a little silly. Um, but I do think the movie's at least fun in some way. I won't say Judgment Night is a great movie. I don't really think it's a great movie by any means, but it's a fine movie. It's like it's something that only exists in the 90s. Just like this really just like specific thriller, and it just, it does its thing, doesn't do anything special, and has like an all-star cast and it calls it a day.
Well, it's a movie that you couldn't make today because just there's so much like ways of communication. Like you'd have to add
Yeah.
some type of ridiculous stake, like oh their phones get smashed or whatever, and they
Yes.
because Jeremy Piven even has a cell phone in this movie, but and he's just like no, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
He
Well, I
pretends it.
I love that where he's like he pretends like out of service, can't call the police. Um,
Which is so because if he had just called them right there, the movie would have been over.
yeah, right. But he's so scared to go to jail over that, and then God, his character gets so miserable to be around. Like I would have abandoned this guy so deep
Yeah.
into this.
That's why I was wondering. I'm like, at what point do they just go like, look, this like you're insane. Like, cause there's the point too in the movie because they get cornered into like
Hmm.
this really dingy apartment complex, and and then um Jeremy Piven's character has a gun, and that's like his whole thing is like he's got a gun, and
Hmm.
he, and they're like they call the police from this lady's apartment, and they're basically just like the lady was like, look, you could call the police all day, like they never show up half the time or whatever,
Yeah.
and and then he pulls a gun out because they're like, well, we need to, because Emilio Estevez and everyone else is like, well, we need to leave because we're endangering these people, and we don't want them
Hmm.
to get hurt. And then Jeremy Piven pulls out a gun and points it at his friends. Just like,
Hmm.
I'm not going, you guys aren't going anywhere. Like I'm staying right here.
Yeah, he pulls a gun out on his friends, and in that scene, I was like, okay, this is where you leave them behind. This is where it's just like, whatever, just leave.
Yeah.
But there's no redemption after that, and I think this whoever wrote the script knew that because even though they bring him with them, he dies like the next scene after this. Because there's a scene where they have to go across the rooftop to another building because Dennis Leary and his gang members they're going door to door, pretty much breaking in to find these guys. Um, and Jeremy Piven is too scared to go across the roof, so he stands there and tries to make a deal, which I actually thought this was a pretty good scene where Jeremy Piven he's like, I'll give you like 100,000 or some high number, and Dennis Leary's like, I hate rich scumbags like you that you think you can just throw around your money, blah blah blah, just is in his face. And then Jeremy goes 200,000, and they make it seem like that actually like convinces him, and then they just throw him off the damn roof because they just want to kill
And
him.
a very loud scream too. Like it's very
Yeah.
distinct. Like, oh.
And I think even like I forget who it is. It's either Kuba or Steven Dorff. The one that's like I could still hear his scream to this like to right now. It's still playing in my head. Um Yeah, but it becomes like just a runaround movie. They end up in the damn sewers in this movie. There's like a huge scene in the sewers. I think that's where they kill Peter Green.
Yeah, like you said, like the just the stakes that this movie goes to, like they just keep upping it and upping it. Like you said,
Yes.
at a certain point, it becomes like really over the top because they have, like you said, they start out, in the streets, they're running away.
Hmm.
They kind of they go into this apartment complex, then they have like this big rooftop chase,
Yeah.
and then chase through the sewers, and they have a chase through like this abandoned like swap meet.
Uh-huh. That's right. Yeah. Because that's like where it's a very interesting end climax scene moment for a movie, just in this like swap meet grocery store type building. Because they think they're safe, they break in and there's a security guard there. But Dennis Leary and his gang members just go in and kill those people, and it becomes this giant fight scene.
And it's
Uh,
funny because like when they get uh when they get stopped by those security guards, they're just like
yes,
they're
yeah.
so happy to get caught. They're like, "Oh, thank God!" It's like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna get out of here." And just
Yeah, they said lock me up. They're like celebrating getting in, and the security
yeah,
guard's not having any of it though. He's like, shut the hell up. I'm gonna get
yeah.
cops here. Um, but yeah, before they can make the call, they die. So it becomes this huge fight, like gunfight scene there at the end. And there's even like a night stocksman who gets like shot at, and he's wearing headphones so he doesn't hear the gunshots. But they're not like Bose, like tight headphones. They're just like the little tiny ones. There's no way.
Walkman ones, yeah.
Yes, there's no way.
Well, I mean, like, so he's pushing a pallet of
Hmm.
soda,
Hmm.
and it's and he uh Dennis Leary's like shooting this
Hmm.
like pallet of soda, and it's just like, and I'm like, those soda cans cannot stop bullets. Like,
No, no
Like that guy
way.
would be dead.
Yes, there's no way a bullet would go right through it. But no, he's just sitting there, just dancing behind the pallet of soda. He does run away at one point because he figures out what's going on. And God, this movie ends with such an over-the-top fight sequence with Emilio and Dennis Leary on like the second level. They're like pushing each other around. They have the gun. They get out of it. But the moment that I think is silly is Dennis Leary is like he's holding on and he's about to fall over and really quickly goes, "You're not gonna let me fall, are you?" And Emilio Estevez does help him up for a second. And of course that was like he's like, that's not gonna work. I can't believe that. Like I get there saying like Emilio Estevez was a good guy. He's like a decent person, but there's no way. There's no way.
At that point, they've been chasing him all night. He's like a bloodthirsty killer. You know, like
Mm-mm.
one of their friends is already dead. I mean, at a certain point, you just be like, no, like,
Bye. Just fall and die.
yeah,
But
yeah.
but
I,
eventually he does fall.
so like at the end of the movie, he does fall and he lands on some stairs,
Hmm.
and that's how he dies.
Yeah.
And I, I kept waiting for the fake out
Oh
to
yeah.
the whole time because I was like, okay, he's gonna grab him or what? Because I'm like, he's not gonna just fall on some stairs and die. Like you're gonna have like
Yeah.
some big thing, and uh, or like, and then you think Emilio Estevez is safe, but then the cops show up, and it's funny in that scene too.
Hmm.
It's like, he's like, no, my brother's upstairs, he's hurt, and I got my friends and everything, and then immediately, like the cops just like they're like, no, no, we're not out here. But then another cop shows up, it's like, oh no, he's right. His brother's upstairs and he's hurt. And they're like, okay, he's free to go. Like,
Yeah, and they let
just
him walk. They do. Like instantly, like he's just like, yeah, let me show you. And he runs out the door. Like that's not how, I don't think that's how that would work.
no,
Uh,
no.
but you're right. Yeah, Dennis, this movie would be so set up for a fake out, but they don't do that. I guess he is dead. But this movie ends on such a happy note. Like everybody's his two friends that are alive that aren't Jeremy Piven, they're alive. They're getting put in the ambulance at the end of the movie, and I think even the cop goes like, the cop is like, I think he says, "Oh, your wife's outside," and Emilio is like, "All right, seeing my wife," and you don't even get to see the reunion. I for sure thought this would be cheesy 90s movie, get a nice song made for the movie, they get up and hug, and he's like, I'm getting new friends or
I,
something like
th-
that.
I, I, I thought it was funny too at the end. Cuba Gooding Jr. is like being wheeled out because Cuba Gooding Jr. has been shot, but
Yeah.
but they're basically like he's got shot in the stomach, and then the EMTs come and they're like, he's like, how is he? He's like, he's lost a lot of blood, but his vitals are good. He's fine. And and then at the end, like Cuba Gooding Jr. is like, oh, that's good. I got tickets to the Bears game next weekend, and Emilio's like, well, I'm not going. I'm staying home and watching the game at home with my wife.
Yeah, which I get it. I get it. No, it's a silly little ending. So I mean, oh yeah.
But at the end, like I said, because we didn't even touch on, so like we said, like his Ray is like a really terrible friend, who's just like this
Yes.
real cowardly type of guy that does anything to benefit himself. But like you said, they do have this encounter in the sewer scene where uh Peter Green is about to shoot I think Stephen Dorff's character,
Yeah.
or maybe Emilio Estevez, and Cuba Gooding Jr. kind of intervenes at the last second and stops him, shoots the guy in the leg, and Peter Green's just like, "What? You gonna kill me or something? Huh? Huh? Like, you're not actually gonna do it." And then Cuba Gooding Jr. does just like shoot him
Hmm.
dead. And Cuba Gooding Jr., like, I don't know what was going on, but like his character, like I said earlier, like does a complete 180.
Yeah.
He's kind of like, I mean, he's not like the most level-headed guy, but he at least was like reasonable or whatever. But now he just like turns into a psychopath.
Yeah, it's really odd. I think it's like too harsh. I think the idea is that the night has gotten so much to him that he's almost just like it's just broken his brain a little bit. But it definitely is like a complete 180 because he becomes like, "Oh, I gotta kill them all. Like, why don't we just stay and kill them all?" And like he becomes a total dick to everybody. I think he like because Steven Dorff, he hesitates. He couldn't kill Peter Green in the sewer. I think, and like Steven Dorff is even like, I hate that I did that. I hate that I hesitated. I thought I was stronger than that. And I think Kuba even sees that as like weakness and starts yelling at him, like, "Hey, why did you hesitate? Why didn't you do this?" And
Yes.
he becomes a very mean character, and then
Oh,
Steven
wow.
Dorff becomes like a baby character.
Well, I mean, so after they get out of the sewer, they do actually see like a public bus, and they're like,
That's
"Oh my
right.
God!" Like, and
Mhm.
they try to stop it, and the bus driver's like, "I'm not stopping for these psychos." They're
Yeah.
trying to or whatever. But then Cuba Gooding Jr. breaks out the gun and starts firing at the
Yeah,
bus.
start shooting the bus. Which what is that gonna do? Oh my god, I can't. Yeah, I forgot about that. Um, man, and he would go on to win an
Yeah.
Oscar, huh?
Yeah. I mean, I I think overall, I mean, one of the biggest weaknesses of this movie is the performances. I don't really think anyone's very good in this movie except maybe Dennis Leary. I mean,
Yeah,
he's hamming it up pretty good. He does a really good job playing a bad guy. So if anyone did anything good, I thought he was good. Jeremy Piven, I don't like him in this movie. Steven Dorff's not good. Cuba Gooding Jr. I think is probably the worst part about the movie, acting
yeah,
wise.
yeah.
And
Yeah, and Emilio is just like bland and boring.
that's what I was about to say. I think Emilio Estevez is completely miscast in this movie,
I agree.
because I mean, uh, I think he's a decent actor and everything, but he's such a soft-spoken guy. He doesn't
Hmm.
really, like even when he gets angry or whatever, like I don't really buy it, to
I
be
agree.
quite honest. So I just don't. I think for like an action movie like this, where you have to really like where tensions are running really high, emotions are kind of all over the place. I don't really think he has the range to do something like this, but um, I just kind of thought overall I was, I didn't think a lot of people did a very good job in this one.
No, I agree. Yeah, I think Dennis Leary is the standout, but I think that's just because it's Dennis Leary, and I feel like this type of role is just what he's like made for. Very
Yeah.
mean, arrogant, a-hole bad guy. It just works, right? That just clicks. And I agree. I wasn't very convinced by Emilio Estevez in this role of like being this like guy who used to be a badass and is now kind of a laid back family man. I get the laid back family man part maybe, but not like the like, oh, he's got this seething anger under him that's gonna boil up. I don't really see that. And I agree, everyone else is pretty bad. I mean, Steven Dorff, usually pretty bad. Jeremy Piven, he's just playing his normal douchebaggy role. And then yeah,
Mhm.
Kuba, I think his character, it's more bad writing. I think his character was like
Probably.
the way that he had to do that 180 halfway through the movie, I just don't think it worked for his character. So I agree. I think it's a strong cast and idea, but not in execution. But I love movies that take place all at one night, and it's a thriller, intense. It's really good. But I still think this movie is fun, and that's why I would give it maybe a light recommend. But it could have been better. It just could have been a lot better.
Yeah. I mean, it's not again, I would probably say, it's a decent enough time.
Mhm.
I wouldn't say it's a bad movie like altogether,
Mhm.
but it's not very good either. It's just okay for me. I would say the same. It would be a light recommend for me. Um, it's not exceptional, but like I said, the premise is decent enough where I got some enjoyment out of it.
Mhm. So yeah, I do think that wraps it up for Judgment Night. But Ryan, what are we going to be covering on Thursday?
Well, Nathan, we are going to go with the completely culturally sensitive movie Soul Man,
Mhm.
and that is free on YouTube right now.
Oh well, I'm excited for that one.
Yeah.
But if you do want to send us an email, hate email, love email, I don't know, you can email us at driveanddoubleFeaturePodcast at gmail.com. Be sure to check us out on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. But until next time.
Until next time.